everyone. My name is Stephanie Taube Gomez, and I work at Digital Switzerland, co-leading the area Collaborative Innovation. Usually what I do at work is work together with different organizations, and we try to use the power of digitalization to find creative solutions for today's challenges. But today I'm here to present to you the Startup Battle 2021. The Startup Battle is Digital Day's stage where we promote and support Swiss entrepreneurs. But what it is also about is sharing this entrepreneurial thinking, this curiosity to always want to strive for better and keep on learning no matter what. At the Startup Battles, we will be presenting to you 15 startups in the next 5 episodes. In every one of the episodes, we will have 3 startups that will be pitching to convince you, me, and our experts here. What you can do at home is you can go to our webpage, digitalday.swiss/startupbattle, and help to save your favorite startup a spot on the finals on November 10th. I'm already super curious to see who we've selected for this year. But before we go to the startups, I would like to introduce to you all my co-moderator, Lukas Klimbühl. Hi, Lukas.
Hi, Stephanie.
Lukas, it's super interesting. So you actually work at InnoSwiss, where you're responsible and the co-head of communication. So it's all about promoting and supporting the creation of innovation in Switzerland and to tell the stories that have led to these innovations to even make it possible. What is it that you most enjoy about your role?
What I really enjoy about my role is to give innovative projects, Swiss startups, the space, the platform to present their new products and services. Having said that, I'm very pleased to welcome 2 well-known experts of the Swiss startup ecosystem who have joined us today for this semi-final of the Startup Battle. Let me first introduce Ariana Walcott. Hi. Ariana, you're co-founder and board member of Dart Labs Venture. It is an incubator which connects European and American expertise to test and scale clever, innovative human-machine interfaces. You're also board member of various startups and of the Swiss Startup Association, and you previously worked as VP Innovation and Technology for Swisscom based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was wondering, Ariana, your work to some of our viewers might sound somewhat abstract. So how do you explain what you're doing, for example, to a relative, to your mother, or to an uncle?
That's a really good question. I struggled for a while to explain to my mom what we do. Basically, what we do is we find early stage entrepreneurs, so young companies that have invented something really great and are looking for a way to bring that to market. And with the Bridge to the Silicon Valley, we help them access that ecosystem that is really good at boosting these early stage companies. And we try to do that with the year-long program. And alongside, we invest some money to make it all possible for the startups.
Thank you for this clear explanation of what you're doing every day. Let me now turn to our second expert, Gilles Guéquière. Gilles, you co-founded Nomad.fr, an early search engine for French websites, which then became a full-service portal and was ranked among the top 10 sites in France. After selling it to LibertySurf in 2000, you became a business angel and an investor, and you have made investment in numerous startups. So we are very happy to have you with us today, Gilles. My question to you as an investor would be, beyond the metrics, the pitching you listen to, the due diligence process, how much does your gut feeling play a role when you make an investment decision in a startup?
It's a very good question. It should be very rational as an investor to pick a startup and invest in exchange of a share of capital. Unfortunately, it isn't this way. We're all humans, And I've been an entrepreneur myself, so I can have empathy for entrepreneur and emotions, and irrationality plays a role. That's how humans behave. But I'm very happy to be myself a financial now person and be able to finance those startups and entrepreneurs and help them grow their business.
Thank you for this very personal insight into how also an investor thinks and feels. It is now the viewers' time to move to our startup battle, the first semi-final, and I am very delighted to welcome the first startup. It is called Dori Health, and we have with us its CEO and co-founder, Stefan Gatt. Very welcome, Stefan.
Thank you.
Your startup helps patients to better deal with their medication. When I was reading about your startup, I was actually wondering, where did you get the inspiration for this name of your startup, Dori Health?
Mm-hmm. So it's a funny story, though. Our Dori Health name was actually inspired by the film Dory, the Disney film Dory, right? Or let's say Finding Nemo, and there is the fish Dory in it, who suffers from short-term memory loss. And since our patients are forgetting sometimes their medication, that's how we came up with this noun.
Thank you very much for this funny anecdote about the naming of a startup. We really now look forward to your pitch about Dori Health. You have 90 seconds starting now.
So did you know that about 6 million people in Germany and Switzerland are chronically ill and need to take multiple medications a day? These people need to constantly manage their prescriptions. They need to buy the medication at the pharmacy, sort their pills, remember to take those pills, and they need to track their symptoms. And all of this while still having to work and with families at home. It's a lot to take care of, and 50% of them fail to do this correctly, which cost hundreds of thousands of lives and billions of dollars every year. We at Dori Health offer these patients an all-round, carefree service that completely takes care of all of these inconvenient tasks, so the patients can finally focus on more pleasant things in life. We uniquely combine a smart pill box that tracks the intake behavior of the patients and reminds them when they're forgetting their medication, with a medication delivery service in a pre-sorted way, like with these pre-sorted medication blisters. So it's sorted by time point. And finally, an app that reminds the patient when it's time for the medication and allows them to track their symptoms. We currently offer this product already on the market in Germany and Switzerland. And so there, the patients can subscribe for our services. In Switzerland, it's completely for free, since we are covered through basic health insurance. And in Germany, we charge them 20 euros per month, but also looking to reduce the price as much as possible through other revenue streams. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and please vote for Dori Health.
Thanks for that, Stefan. Isn't it crazy, like, the challenges that we're facing today? Like, back in the day, we did not even have the access to such a good healthcare systems, and now it's really about this, well, again, once more, right, that very last mile to really make it happen. Yeah, I mean, we have here two experts and investors, so I'm gonna stop talking and give you the word. So who of you would like to shoot the first question to Stefan?
Okay. Stefan, you're targeting older people. It's new technology. Are you not afraid of adoption problems of these older people using your product?
We actually are not targeting older people. That's a common misconception. Of course, the elderly, they take more medication, right, than the younger ones, but we are actually targeting those below 65, we're saying, but those who live an active lifestyle, right, who are still working and with families at home, and they need a mobile solution, and they don't have that. The elderly, they are covered through home care services, right, Spitex, or they are in care homes already. So these people don't really have a need for a solution like this, and therefore there's no such issue with adoption problems.
So you're saying statistically backed up, again, one of our misconceptions, thinking that just the elderly have to take regular medication. Ayana, what do you want to know about Stefan and Dori Health?
Yeah, I'm curious about your business model. How do you make money? You mentioned it's free in Switzerland, charge a little bit something in Germany.
Yeah.
How do you, Dori Health, make money?
So we have a way, since we are selling convenience, to offer it directly, D2C, right? Direct to customers, so the patients can pay for our services out of their pockets. That's how we're doing it currently in Germany. But the idea is that we get as much as possible through B2B revenue streams like health insurances, employers, some other kind of insurances, or also pharma companies. So they back us up so we can reduce the price for the patients as much as possible. And in Switzerland, it's already the case. So.
Thank you. I would like to go ahead to our yes and no question. So as said, you will be able to answer with either yes or no. Keep the explanation to you just for a second. And yeah, let's start with a tough one. I know you barely had enough information about the Dori Health, but I would like to know, just from the first feeling, would you be inclined to invest, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I guess there's less of constructive feedback, but just feedback. So could you just explain to Stefan why? What was it that triggered this optimistic view on their business?
Well, for me personally, I hear 6 million people using it, but I think the market is much bigger, and I think you can probably also go outside of what you're doing today, maybe go into vitamins, which a lot of even younger people are interested in. In the Silicon Valley, people are stacking, meaning taking vitamins on top of vitamins, and that's a lot of pills to manage. That's why I personally think this might be a really good case, and said yes.
Thanks.
Well, I think it's a big market. That's one thing, and I think that getting those pills taken as a real benefit. And thirdly, I think it's, as Stefan told me before, it's also a way to gather data about how the medicines are taken and are they really useful to the patients. So I think that hand game, at the end, it's what interests me as an investor.
So basically, one, think again bigger. I think something we all can do here in Switzerland. And two, to not just stop at the immediate maybe goals, but see what else is possible with all the information that you can bring together. Well, on this note, thank you very much, Stefan. Best of luck to you and your team at Dori Health.
Thank you.
I'm curious. What's the next startup, Lucas?
Stephanie, I'm very excited to welcome on stage our next startup competitor. It's WittyWorks and its CEO and founder, Nadia Fischer. Nadia, with your startup, you aim to attract more female talents and people from different backgrounds into the field of technology and engineering. So I would be interested to hear from you, who inspired you maybe as a role model to get yourself into technology and found basically an IT startup?
Okay, it's maybe a little bit arrogant to say, but I think I inspired myself because I was working myself as a Scrum product owner in this industry and just saw how homogeneous the teams were, and that I thought is really, and still think is really dangerous, because digital tools, solutions will determine our future, and if these tools are only built by a homogeneous group, then we will pass by a lot of needs of people with diverse backgrounds. And that's why I wanted to do something against it.
Thank you for sharing this personal experience about really where you saw needs. So we now look forward to listen to your pitch about WittyWorks. You have 90 seconds starting now.
Thank you. Well, stop and think. When you write at work or privately, have you ever ask yourself if you truly address the whole diversity of your target groups. I mean, are you making sure that you use expressions that even people with migration background can understand, or that you used titles that can work with all gender identities? Due to globalization and social movements today, the population is more and more diverse. Also, our target groups from businesses, like the potential workforce or clients, have very diverse backgrounds. But business language doesn't follow that trend. Science has actually proved that we still use business communication that use words that carry stereotypes from the 18th century. So they keep trapped in the past. And this is where we come in. We have developed a business-to-business software as a service that helps companies to use language that can actually speak to all this big, diverse world. It is based on artificial intelligence. It identifies terms that are old-fashioned, that are stereotyped, and will propose you directly words and word combinations that can actually attract any kind of workforce or any kind of clients. We have already gained 30 corporate clients, of which one is Deutsche Bahn, and we've reached a monthly recurring revenue of 12,000 euros and tend to go towards 1.3 million by the end of 2022. So please invest in us. We make sure that we write from now on for a diverse world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia. It's interesting. So basically, to some extent, what you're doing is working to the outside world in making the language that we use much more inclusive. But at the same time, it is some sort of re-education and learning new expressions of how to, well, yeah, exchange your very much outdated vocabulary. Ariana, what would you like to ask Nadia and WittyWorks so that you are convinced by their work?
Yeah, thank you for that pitch, Nadia. You mentioned you want to reach 1.3 million revenue by the end of 2022. Where do you see WittyWorks in 5 years? How do you want to grow this, and what does the scenario in 5 or 6 years look like?
Yeah, so what we do as a first step now, we really attack Germany as a market, or the whole DACH region, right? And that's where this 1.3 million will come from. But then really we want to go global, because naturally English is the language that is used mostly in business. And yeah, that's going to, the international expansion, the global expansion is going to make us that big company we want to be.
I have a more down-to-earth question is, what problem are you trying to solve? Who are you selling your service to?
Yeah, absolutely. Our target groups are mostly people in human resources that are responsible for inclusive culture. There's many companies that now have also diversity and inclusion responsibles who make sure that on the one hand, they have this aura towards the outside that they're inclusive, but also towards the inside to make sure that all these different people from different nationalities and so forth can really work together. So that's the second group. And the third group, target group naturally is anything in marketing and communication, because they need to make sure that just their language becomes much more modern and adapted to today's world.
So if I'm a marketing person, I send you a text that I've written, and you are going to translate it into proper terms?
No, actually, so it's all automatized, meaning you, as a company, you will have the browser plugin installed, that app installed on your browser. Okay. And while you're writing on any kind of interface, the algorithm will work together with you directly. So it's real time. And it's very, the proposals the algorithm is making is very natural, is very user-friendly, and is recommendations only, right? You're not forced into anything. It's just making you aware, nudging you towards a more inclusive language.
Okay. What I would like to do is, Ariana, I mean, since you've been working a lot in the Silicon Valley and supporting startups to make it globally, and you have the ambitious goal of going global, well, first DACH, what would be a suggestion or recommendation you would like to share for Nadia and her team at WittyWorks?
To take it into consideration as soon as possible. The earlier you think about going international, in most cases, I think the better. So my suggestion would be to evaluate that as soon as possible. When does it make sense to jump over the pond?
Right. Cool. On this note, thank you very much, Nadia, for sharing your work at WithYourWorks. Best of luck to you and your team.
Thank you very much.
That went fast, super. And now we're at the last startup. Lucas, who's coming next?
I'm very delighted, Stephanie, to introduce you our third startup competitor. It's iKeep and its CEO and co-founder, Petros Timotheou.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Your startup wants to turn people, including our viewers, possibly into zero-waste heroes. So I was wondering, what about yourself, Petros? Are you a zero-waste hero?
For sure. First of all, I think it's important to define what it means to be a hero, yeah? And I think being a hero is waking up every morning and being better than what you were yesterday. It's not about comparing yourselves to people out there. It's about trying to always do the best that you can. And that's what I try to do every day when it comes to waste. I try to do and be better than what I did yesterday. And that's why I built iKeep with my co-founders and my team to build those tools that will help me to be better in how I deal with the things I don't use anymore in my daily life, moving on in life, if you want.
Thank you for sharing this understanding of being a hero, an everyday hero. Let's now listen to you pitch about iKeep. You have 90 seconds starting now.
Sound good. So I want everybody to take a little moment to really think of all the things that you have in your home, mobile phones, laptops, your sports equipment, your clothes, even toys. At some point in your life, they really serve the purpose, and for whatever reason, it's not a bad reason, for whatever reason, they don't, and they're sitting in a closet or in a cellar or in a drawer. Think about the resources and the materials that went into building these products and how these resources are becoming more and more scarce, if you want. But also that last month, one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world, Ford, had its production process disrupted because it didn't have access to computer chips, yet households across the US are full of unused electronic equipment. So these are the type of resource problems we're trying to address with iKeep, if you want. And we start by wanting to make it really easy for all of us, for all consumers, to return their used products, but also give a strong reason to the brands that made them to take these products back and refurbish them, reinstating them into the market, but otherwise recycling them and placing them in the manufacturing process. So what we did is we digitized the take-back process, which means that our digital tools make it a lot easier for consumers to return their products, but also data and data analytics really maximize the value of the take-back process for the brands. If you want, we really believe that closing, at iKeep, we really believe that closing the resource cycle, especially on continents in Europe, where we don't have a lot of resources, will depend on building digital tools that drive and nurture the bond between consumers and the brands that we buy from, if you want.
Petros, you sold me on the problem.
Okay, let's go.
And I think we all would understand much better how does the solution actually work. Gilles, Ayana, who wants to go first?
Yeah, my question was,
Absolutely.
you mentioned data. So what kind of data do you gather and what do you do with it?
So it's all about, I'll probably give you the best example. Yeah, it's about how I was before I became an entrepreneur. I had a corporate life. I was a loyal customer to Hugo Boss. I have a few Hugo Boss suits in my cupboard. I changed my profession. I don't wear Hugo Boss suits anymore, and my Hugo Boss suits are still in my closet. If Hugo Boss joined iKeep, first of all, I would return my Hugo Boss suits to Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss will thank me for dealing with its sustainability program, and I would buy new jeans from Hugo Boss, which I would use every day. They would be purposeful to me. Hugo Boss then understand from the data, they understand that Petros is no longer buying suits, he's buying jeans. I should be selling to him jeans. That's what makes sense to him in his life. They keep me as a loyal customer. They haven't lost me to Levi's, which they did now. And that's a bit the journey that the brand and the consumer go through this mode of having resources circulating between them, if you want.
Gilles, as an ex-entrepreneur, and I mean, to some extent, the angel investor, you do always support, of course, the entrepreneurs. What would be an advice that you would like to give Petros and iKeep on their entrepreneurial journey?
It's a large question. No. It's the journey as an entrepreneur, as I was mentioning that before, is a long journey. So my advice is step by step. It's like a marathon. It's not don't run too fast. That's the advice I always give. But I had a question also. If I may ask it.
Yes, go ahead.
So
please.
what type of revenues are you doing now? And what's your business model? How do you make money?
So the interesting thing is we're in the circular economy. This gives us access to a lot of revenues, revenue channels, if you want. We can sell the products that we take back to recyclers, which is something we can do. We can build profit-sharing models with upcyclers and second-hand platforms from the various channels that are available in the local market. The brands pay us to manage the take-back schemes and get access to our tools, which come with data analytics. We work with Microsoft to provide them with digital tools. And of course, we have access to the consumer data, which is not part of our revenue model. It's part of our value of our business, if you want. And today, we've been around for 3 months. We have a total of 8 brands. Our revenues are very small, so we're a very early stage startup. We're at around 1,000 Swiss francs a month. But we hope, depending on the size of the brands that we can work with, we can actually hit around 60,000 Swiss francs by the end of a year.
On this note, thank you very much, Petrus.
Thank you.
For sharing your passion. I mean, as said, the problem is very much there. And I'm curious to see the continuation of IKEV. Thank you very much. Well, we're already at the end of the first episode of this year's Startup Battle. As promised, please do not forget, you can vote and help your favorite startup to get a spot on the finals on November 10th. Please go for this onto our webpage, digitaltalk.swiss/startupbattle. And I would like to start thanking everyone, starting with the entrepreneurs, so Stefan, Nadia, and Petrus, as well as to our 2 lovely experts, Aliana and Gilles. And lastly, of course, to all of our partners who made all of this possible. InnoSwiss, AVS, SICTIC, Swisscom, and Canton de Vaud. Merci beaucoup. So stay tuned and come back next week for the second episode of the Startup Battle.